Electricast.
The kids are still at practice, and I have no idea what's for dinner.
You can get a rotisserie chicken and 2 sides for just $15 in as fast as an hour with Walmart Express Delivery.
Who said that? Who's in my house? Don't play with me, because I'm not the one.
It's just your friendly Walmart announcer. This is a commercial.
Oh, okay. You were saying dinner for a family was just $15?
Yep, it'll be at your door by the time you get the kids home from practice. Order now. Welcome to your Walmart. Subject to availability, restrictions and fees apply.
Now that was a helpful commercial.
McDonald's meets the Minecraft universe with one of 6 collectibles and your choice of a Big Mac or 10-piece McNuggets with spicy nether flame sauce. Now available with a Minecraft movie meal.
At participating McDonald's for a limited time, a Minecraft movie only in theaters.
On this episode of Missing the Point, it's time for some cheap heat as Mike, Craig, and Rayshawn preview WWE Survivor Series. We'll break down the matches and discuss what should happen versus what will happen. We'll give our top 5 Survivor Series moments and also discuss The Undertaker's legacy, as this Sunday is billed as his final farewell. But first, this episode is being brought to you by Boxo Crafts. Boxo is an arts and crafts focused kids subscription box. Boxo is a parent-run company that combines creativity and convenience in one monthly package, delivered right to your door. Boxo's premier box, Boxo Holidays, contains 4 separate art projects to get you and your family into the holiday spirit. Whether it's Halloween, Hanukkah, or Easter, they've got you covered with holiday fun. Boxo, we can't wait to see you create. Check out boxocrafts.com and exclusively to our listeners, enter the promo code MTP for 15% off your first order. That's BOXOcrafts.com, promo code MTP. Missing the Point is a 1-hour weekly, 2-hour monthly podcast recapping the biggest stories in the world of sports with a New England flavor. The show notes and transcript of today's episode can be found in the description box below, as well as on our website, mtpshow.com. If you're new to the show, consider subscribing. It's the easiest way to see when we publish new episodes. We are on iTunes, Spotify, Google, and wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to rate us and leave a review of any of our shows. We always appreciate your feedback. Also, be sure to follow us on all of our social medias. All of our links will be in the show notes. And check out our brand new website, www.mtpshow.com. That's mtpshow.com. And now, this is Mr.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the MTP podcast proudly brings to you the most entertaining and informative wrestling podcast that you will ever listen to. And that is not a prediction. That is a spoiler. And this is Cheap Heat. All right, everybody, welcome to the inaugural episode of Cheap Heat presented by the MTP Podcast Network. I am Michael Marcangelo alongside Craig D'Alessandro and Rayshawn Buchanan. Craig, you're not always on the air, and so it took a wrestling podcast to bring you out of the shadows.
It takes a very specific niche to try and drag me out into the actual podcasting realm, but, you know, you found one. Here I am.
We found one, and
Oh, I'm good, man. I have been waiting to do a show like this. You know, we've been on the air for a little while, but this has been, this is dope, and I can't wait to get into this, man. Let's get it.
For those of you that don't know, Cheap Heat will be a pretty regular wrestling podcast that we do here, as we are the 3 biggest wrestling fans at the MTP network. That is, we've all been watching. I can speak for myself. I've been watching probably since 1992. I've only missed a handful of Monday Night Raws. I'm not ashamed to admit it because I am recently engaged, so it's okay. It did not stop my growth at all. But guys, like for you, how long have you been wrestling fans for?
I probably started, for me, my first memories, because I'm 32 years old, so I was born in 1988. So I had some of those parents that like didn't want me to watch wrestling when I was younger, but I eventually found it on television anyway. So my like first real exposure started up like around, I want to say 96, 97, when
good years,
you know, Stone Cold Steve Austin was just starting to start reign supreme. My first memory of wrestling is when Stone Cold Steve Austin kidnapped Vince McMahon, and I really thought he was going to assassinate him in the middle of the ring.
It's one of the best moments in television
And
history.
then it was just like a joke. It was just like a Joker bang gun, and he pissed his pants in the middle of the ring.
Yeah. Yeah.
I believe the infamous quote was McMahon 316 says, "I just pissed my pants."
Right, exactly. Yeah, that was one of the best segments ever. But no, so for me, I'm a little bit younger than y'all, so I'm 30. But for me, I would say 97, 98. So now, that's at that moment that Austin's really, he's essentially white hot at this moment, and really the first major memory really is a little after the screw job. So I would say. I want to say I think it's the Shawn Michaels match and Taker match at the Royal Rumble, which might have been the year before. I'm not sure, but whenever Bad Blood was. So was it Bad Blood 97? Yeah, so Bad Blood 97. That's gotta be Kane. That's gotta be Kane. Tears off the hinges of the door, and Glenn Jacobs, who was Kane, the mayor of Knox County, tells a great story of that on the WWE Network. So yeah, let's get into it, man.
Yeah, so the reason why we all came together for this show is because this Sunday, tomorrow, is Survivor Series. It's one of the big 4 pay-per-views that the WWE still puts out, and it's chock full of their biggest stars and their biggest stars being sent off. This, on Survivor Series, we are going to finally see the Undertaker's final farewell, something that I think. I personally never thought was going to happen. I thought this guy, Mark Calloway, who I think Undertaker is the greatest character in the history of professional wrestling, just because of the way he protected that character for so long. And for it to end 30 years after it began on the exact same show, it's going to be emotional. And I kind of almost wish there was going to be fans in attendance. What do you guys think?
That was a big thing for me, because I was, reading back on when this past WrestleMania, when it was the Undertaker versus AJ Styles in a Boneyard match, buried alive match, whatever you want to call it. That was originally, and it still was, I guess, the Undertaker's final match. But the circumstances that we live in now ended up turning into a cinematic match, which was, to me, the highlight of the entire show, because obviously this WrestleMania was different. It was kind of lackluster the entire show. But to me, the way they pulled that match off, that was just phenomenal. He brought back the American Badass character, and he and AJ Styles just, hypothetically tore the house down.
Yeah, so for you, Ray, I mean, you've been watching since you said 97, 98. That's really when Taker was heating up. He'd already been in the business, for a while, but he'd been in the WWE for 7 to 8 years at that time. And we just saw Kane, that Survivor Series. He did not have a memorable performance, but 97, 98, 99, those are all big years for Taker. So for you, I guess I'd be interested to learn, what do you think about the Undertaker's legacy?
No, I mean, to me, I think he's the best ever to do it. And like you said, there's no one that protected the business more than him. And, there was no one more loyal to Vince McMahon than the Undertaker, right? So, he didn't jump ship in the 90s like Hogan did. Even though that was, July 7, 1996 changed the business forever. So that would be another podcast too.
Yep.
most likely, but another one for the good guys. But no, he's the best really to ever do it, in my opinion. And his character definitely scared the hell out of me. I'm not gonna lie. Probably scared more children. As you see, especially in his initial Survivor Series appearance, and coming down the aisle, brought you, with Buddy Love or Brother Love, Buddy, whatever love he was. It's been a long time, but it's just the Undertaker. Actually, he was Kane the Undertaker at first. So
he was Kane the Undertaker in an unaired match before.
Right, unaired match, right. Yeah. So it comes out as Undertaker. The kids are mortified, just super, super shook, super scared. But like I said, by the time I started watching him, he was in that the Ministry of Darkness era.
For me, that was the absolute scariest. By that time, I'm 10 years old or 9 years old, and when he, it's awesome to talk about this, looking back. But when that storyline, when he kidnapped Stephanie McMahon, and he
sacrificed her.
Yeah, they were doing crazy human freaking sacrifices on broadcast television.
When the Undertaker was first coming back from his injury that he suffered, which is why he got written out by Stone Cold Steve Austin on the SummerSlam before, and they started doing the promos where Dennis Knight got kidnapped and he was locked in the dungeon, and then it was they displayed the whole Undertaker symbol thing. Then they brought Dennis Knight out. He was on a table, and then they literally cut him open and sacrificed him and turned him into Midian. That was the scariest point of wrestling. It has never been topped in any time.
When you talk about you cannot talk about the WWE without mentioning Undertaker within like the next 5 seconds. He's been the leader of that locker room. Everyone's heard all the stories, and I think recently he did us all a great service by releasing that the Last Ride documentary. It was a lot like it was the Last Dance series of WWE, right? I mean, we finally got to see what was going through the mind and what was actually happening in the life of Mark Calloway in the last 4 or 5 years. And all this guy wanted to do his entire life was make sure that if you paid to see him, that he gave you the best show possible. And recently, you can say what you want. There have been ups, there have been downs. But that Boneyard match, there's no other way to end that. His career, that is the way to do it. That sums up everything. He summoned all of his powers from the early days when he did, his little arm raising and the fire came up out of nowhere. I think it had everything that you could have asked for. And I think that, again, not having fans here, for Survivor Series in the Thunderdome live, it's probably going to benefit Taker, the person, because he would get choked up. Can you imagine having 20,000 people, screaming, "Thank you, Taker," when he's trying to
they would have hijacked the show. Like, it would have been like a 30-minute 40. Like, I remember during this might have been after Raw, when the Raw of the WrestleMania 24, when Ric Flair had retired from the WWE before going off to TNA. And he came out there as the last guy, and he did something that he never does. He broke character and hugged Ric Flair in front of everybody. So, and then did a sign of respect when he gets on one knee and summons the lightning or whatever. So that was dope.
But that just goes to show you how big the Undertaker was, because that particular segment they had to do off air because they knew that people would just cheer the Undertaker more than they would Ric Flair at that point. Because
right, exactly, that's true. But something that Mike touched on about his version of the Last Dance. So that's spot on. It's funny because the first time me seeing him in person, I want to say it had to be like either SmackDown, or it might have been when he came back at the Royal Rumble in Boston in 2003, if I'm not mistaken. But my very first WrestleMania was WrestleMania 33. No, but yeah, so that match, man, was crazy. And then, you see him leave everything in the ring, and everybody was like dead silent. And like the TV doesn't do it justice. Like 76,000 people just silent, like, wait, like, did Roman Reigns really just end his career? Like, and like I said, I'm probably the biggest Roman guy out here. Like, I love Roman Reigns. Like, he is the guy right now. But I was like, wait a minute, like, y'all letting Roman do this?
Right.
To Taker? On this stage? Are y'all like, really? I said, come on, man. Like, nah, like, you got to have him come back and knock his ass out of SummerSlam. Do something. Like, you cannot let him go out, like this. But as we saw in the documentary, physically he just couldn't do it. And just like any great competitor, any great athlete, you really do want to go out on your own terms. And honestly, he could have been done at WrestleMania 34 because it was a short match, but he was phenomenal.
He looked so good.
Cena. He was really good in that match against Cena. And I was like, okay, we can end it that way. I was
going to call that a match.
I mean, the crowd was hyped. Superdome was crazy. I as Michael Cole would say, came unglued. Like, I was unglued.
Mm-hmm.
I lost my mind when that bell hit as 80,000.
But doesn't that speak to him? Because he's the only guy, and I mean, aside from like Austin, right? That without a shadow of a doubt that he's actually going to be at the arena that night. They tell you he's not going to be there. We all know it's a work, right? And then the gong hits, and the whole place just goes nuts. Because that's how much that character means to people that have been watching this for as long as they have, because they now see, when we were kids, he was this unearthly creature. Now, because of all the things that we've been able to watch, we know he's just a man out there trying to make sure that his legacy is remembered, and he does it justice. So I think a couple things I want to touch on for Taker before we jump to the rest of the card here. I want to ask you two questions, and let's try not to go too far into it. should he have lost at Mania against Brock?
You're talking about New Orleans, right?
What should the streak have ended?
I think the streak should have ended, but not against Brock Lesnar. I felt like there were a lot of people that if you're going to end the streak, that means you're going over the moon.
Yeah.
That means you are one of the, it's not like a roll up and a cheap win in a mid-card match. You're beating the Undertaker, who at that point was 21-0 at WrestleMania. And Brock Lesnar at that time was, and still is, this is still his current run, that particular WrestleMania, didn't need that fuel to his streak. Brock Lesnar, we know he
but the one thing I'll say, like, if you think about it though, right? Like, if it just to show you how much useless knowledge I have stocked away in my head, when Brock came back, he lost or split a series with Triple H, right? Yep. He beat him at SummerSlam. He loses the next year at 29 Mania, and then he has a nice match with Punk at SummerSlam 2013. If not Brock, like, if you're looking at that match, right? Is there any shot in hell that Mark Calloway, the Man, or Undertaker, even at that point in time, could have lasted 10 seconds in a real fight with Brock? So why not him, right? And it did propel him. Like, if you remember, after that, he then goes on and takes Cena to Suplex City at SummerSlam in 2014, and this started that reign. The last question. If he had beaten Brock, does he lose to Reigns in 2017, and would that actually be the end?
He did lose to Reigns in 2017, yep. but the thing is, I said no to the other question, guys, but I didn't elaborate a little bit. But I feel like, and I may get heat for this. So hey, GP, hey. To me, and because I'm still hoping for him to come back, and I don't know how other fans feel about this that will listen to this, but at WrestleMania 29. It was clobbering time. I want to CM Punk to be that guy. Like, he's the next guy. Like, you had your Austin, you had your Rocks, you had your Hunters, you had your Takers, you had Kane, you had Jericho, you had that. Who he also had a terrible match in 2019 against Fandango, but that's another conversation. But sorry, I'm like, useless knowledge, right? But I really wish that CM Punk was that guy. But if it wasn't going to be Brock, then yes, it should have been Roman, because Roman clearly is being molded to be that next guy. He's clearly in that run right now. That it's his yard, and now he's the tribal chief.
Yep. So that's a perfect segue. So the first match that we're going to go from the top of the card down, right? I think everyone always starts on the bottom and goes up. I want to start from the premier match here. So what we're going to do is we're going to run through the Survivor Series card, and we're going to talk about what they will do versus what we think they should do, right? So the main event is going to be WWE champion Drew McIntyre, who just recently regained his title against Randy Orton on Raw, against the tribal chief, the reigning defending universal champion Roman Reigns. So I'm going to open it up to you guys. What do they do, and what should they do here?
I think that Roman Reigns right now in WWE is white hot material. You do not mess that kind of momentum up. I think that it's going to be a good match between the two of them. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a shenanigans finish, but right now with Roman Reigns, with what he has, and he just came back from what he's done since SummerSlam and Hell in a Cell, and the momentum he has right now, Paul Heyman and the Usos, you do not mess that momentum up with a loss. Reigns will go over in this match. Yeah,
and it's like, and Craig, I just want you to know, that's not a prediction. That's a spoiler.
That's right.
So, and to me, I'm biased. I don't care what the storyline is. Most times I'm going to pick Roman Reigns, so I'm going with Roman Reigns. This will be much better than the WrestleMania 35 match when I was there for that too, and I was just like, why are they doing this? But I mean, hey, I guess it was an okay match at the time, but this was because McIntyre has had a great year this year as well, by winning the Rumble and being Lesnar at Mania, and so he definitely hasn't been what they call a transition champion. Like, he's definitely held his own, and if Roman Reigns has been number one as far as being white hot, McIntyre to me is at least 2 or 3. So I'm looking forward to a great match, but I think that Reigns will get put over, and it'll just continue that battle.
What bothers me about this match, and I think this is the main conversation that people are having about this match, is that now that Drew McIntyre is Universal Champion again. They had this huge program with Randy Orton for months leading up to Hell in a Cell, where he was the greatest wrestler on the planet. And he's finally put it, he was finally put over Drew McIntyre. He beat up Christian. He beat up Shawn Michaels. He beat up The Big Show. He beat up Ric Flair. And then you take the title off him by the next pay-per-view? Before the next pay-per-view? I understand their mentality with this is they want a main event with an established heel versus an established babyface. But just to take that off of Randy Orton so fast, just killed everything they had going on with him.
Right. What I think with that is, though, because we saw it at this year's Royal Rumble, him and Edge had, to me, actually, that was the match of WrestleMania. It wasn't the Boneyard match. Randy Orton and Edge match was, man, Edge still has it. Like, whatever people thought he lost, shut up. Like, you don't know wrestling. Like, Edge is that guy. Yep. So anyone that had flash photography, you see what I did there, Mike? Like, saw that he did, saw that he still had it and can still deliver a 5-star match. So what I think taking him off that championship pedestal, I think that sets up for WrestleMania 37, where him and Orton will have another matchup again. So
sure, but Sure, but Edge still isn't coming back until WrestleMania season. Maybe, he
probably, right. But maybe that's what it was. I don't know, but that's usually what they do.
If I was booking it, which is a whole nother conversation we can have, I would have had that title on Randy Orton until we got to WrestleMania, and Edge would have came back and challenged for it.
So here's what I think is going to happen. The first thing that I'm going to say is I think that this Survivor Series card and all Survivor Series cards, like in the last 5 years, have been tainted and softened by the fact that it's all champions versus champions and brands versus brands. Mm-hmm. So there's like really no meaningful. You're not going to have that big moment. You know what I mean? Like I used to love when you'd have a WWE Championship match and there would be an actual finish because it was a big four. What I think is going to happen here, I think you're going to see an RKO out of nowhere on Drew McIntyre that lays him out in the middle of the ring, and Roman Reigns covers him for the 1-2-3, which gets us back to McIntyre versus Orton. Orton beats him again for the title. Orton is the champion going into Mania against Edge. That's what I see happening. And that's what I think they should do, by the way.
Doesn't that kind of screw up with what they're trying to do with the Fiend?
Yeah, maybe. But I think like he's one of those characters. He's like the Fiend right now is like Mankind 97, right? You can put him with anybody, okay. and he's gonna.
I understand right now he's kind of in a mini feud with The Miz. So. Yeah.
But you can put wherever you put him, he's going to bring intrigue because that character just does it, right? Like you want to see what him and Alexa Bliss are going to do. Mm-hmm. So I think we all have Roman Reigns going over. I think we all think that that's the right thing to do. The next match is the men's Survivor Series match, which is the traditional tag match, which is team. I think it's team Raw, Keith Lee, AJ Styles, Sheamus, and Braun Strowman and Riddle versus Kevin Owens, Jey Uso, King Corbin, Seth Rollins, and TBD from SmackDown. We'll find out on this week's edition. I think traditionally, for what they should do in this, if they really want to establish either Jey Uso as a main eventer or Riddle as a main eventer, they have the opposing team have 3 people left, and that person goes through them. I would love to see a monster run by Jey Uso. I think what you saw with him and Roman Reigns, it just shows you he can do it. I wasn't buying into it, but that Hell in a Cell match, the story that they told in an I Quit match inside Hell in a Cell, this guy can do it. You could probably print money with him if you do it well. So here's what I think is going to happen. I think Team Raw is going to win decisively. What I think should happen is I think Riddle should have to go through 3 remaining members of the SmackDown team to win it for his team. So I think it's going to be Raw decisively, but I think that's a bad thing to do.
I actually agree with you, but in a different way. I think this is the match that puts Keith Lee over the top. Vince McMahon wants to push Keith Lee absolutely over the moon, and I think that this is kind of the match that they kind of do that with that. I think there are 2 distinct possibilities of this match. It's being speculated that last TBD for Team SmackDown is going to be Big E. So it's either going to be because I look at all these names for this Survivor Series match. Nobody really needs to go over except Jey Uso, Keith Lee, and if I'm right, and it's Big E, then Big E. So it's gonna be one of the finish should involve one of those 3, or else I just don't know what they're doing. But for me, it's Keith Lee just coming in and this will be his coming out party.
Yeah, it's almost like you was in my notes, Craig, because I have the same exact thing. Like I think that it's Keith Lee's time, and my thing is he was gaining traction in NXT, and I'm just sick of guys killing it in NXT, and then they get to either SmackDown or Raw, and then they just sizzle out, right? Like I like Matt Riddle, you know, he's the new bro, you know, now that Zack Ryder has left, but
He's the original bro.
That's right.
right. Yeah, exactly. That's right. Exactly. So it's just like, you know, okay, cool. But yeah, Keith Lee is the guy that needs to get put over. Like, love what Jay was doing. You're right, Mike. Like, I share the same sentiment. Like, I said, I wasn't buying into either. I'm like, yo, like, he's a tag team guy. Like, I didn't see him being, I didn't see the Usos being separated. Like, I love when they came out, especially to their newer theme song with like "Welcome to the Uso Penitentiary."
Yeah,
like that.
awesome.
That is phenomenal. Like, you know, to see 80,000 yell day one, we've been down since. Like that is phenomenal. So, you know, it's great. But yeah, no, Jey Uso was awesome. But no, it needs to end with a spirit bomb. 1, 2, 3. And, you know, Mia Yim come out and celebrate with her man.
So moving on to the next Survivor Series match, we have the Women's Survivor Series match, Team Raw versus Team SmackDown. I wish this was a higher profile match. So for Team Raw, we have Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, Lacey Evans, Peyton Royce, and Lana versus the EST of SmackDown, Bianca Belair, Ruby Riott, Liv Morgan, and two people to be determined. Listen, I don't even care if they fill those slots. This should be Bianca Belair's coming out party. That woman has the ability to be the second best female on SmackDown behind Sasha. And she has all the God-given abilities in the ring. She just oozes charisma. So what they should do is let her run through this is how I would start the match. So Vince, anyone, if you're listening, book it this way. Let Bianca start. Never let her tag anybody else in, and let her eliminate every single person from Raw. Nothing would make her a bigger star than doing that. That's what they should do. I don't know if they're going to do that, but I think Bianca Belair is on the winning team. Team SmackDown wins.
Well, you just look at the SmackDown team right now. It's Bianca Belair. Great. Super. That's phenomenal. Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan. Good mid-carders.
Listen, I love Ruby. I
love Liv Morgan. I love Ruby Riott.
And the original incarnation of the Riott Squad was awesome. But
that worked. That worked while he was there. But to me, the only thing that gets my attention on the SmackDown team, and I feel like at this point, they're just going to throw in two people. Maybe they'll throw in like.
Here's what I think. You know what? Here's what I think, Craig. And I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think Charlotte's going to come back. I think she's going to be one of those people that comes in, and she doesn't need it. She's one of those people that I don't miss, but I will love when she comes back. Right? She doesn't need to be there right now. They need to build up other stars to have great matches with her. But I can see this as Vince trying to hot shot. You know, I would say a buy rate or a subscription. But this. Does
that mean moving her to SmackDown?
Maybe.
I mean, she was already on there for a little while, wasn't she?
Was she traded to Raw?
Yes, he was drafted to Raw.
Drafted to Raw. Okay.
So you just cut that out.
Okay, yeah, cut that part out. Right. So,
he was drafted to Raw because so was Andrade.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. I miss you, Zelina. But no. So, man, I do think I like Bianca Belair. Like, I think she's awesome. You know, I also love the Street Profits, and we'll talk about them soon as well. Actually, the person I think that needs to go over in this match actually is Lacey Evans. And the reason why I think that, I remember last year, I think she came out in the Royal Rumble down in Phoenix. Mm-hmm. And, you know, she kind of got like a lukewarm reaction because she started out pretty early. And then, you know, she had a pretty good showing there. And then right away, you know, they put her with Baron Corbin, and, you know, they kind of have this feud going against, you know, Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins. And it's like, oh, okay, like she's holding her own. Like she's a pretty good heel. So I feel like, you know, she could hold her own. And if there's anyone that needs now that push, like I think after what they saw with her last year, I think that it could be her time to get catapulted into that that place where she becomes the champion. And I would love to see Lacey Evans. I fell in love with her character. Like at first I was kind of like, oh, but now I'm rocking with her. Like and I'm one of the nasties. I'm here for it.
I got to tell you, Craig, before you go, her women's rights punch or whatever the name of it is, that is the most legitimate punch I've ever seen a female wrestler throw. And every time it happens, I'm like, I think she hit him. I think she hit her. I think she knocked her clean out.
Going back to what you were saying, Mike, I actually completely agree with you. This needs to be, Bianca Belair's match, because I look at everyone in this match so far, and I just don't see where they're going with it. To me, it's just inevitable that it's going to be a comedy angle from the Raw side. Where is this going to be another week of Nia Jax putting Lana through a table?
Right.
Because it's important to note in this match that this wasn't the original lineup for Raw. It was supposed to be Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, Lana, Mandy Rose, and Dana Brooke. But, Nia Jax, as has been her reputation in the WWE, injured another competitor.
No way.
She
I was gonna say no way, dude. It's not.
No way. I can't believe she actually did that. Like that's wild.
It's not like she deprived us of what was going to be the best non-title match in the history of Survivor Series: Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey. That was going to be it for me.
The female Ryback, she just injures competitors because she's such a dangerous worker. She's hurt so many players. She dislocated Mandy Rose's shoulder, and now she can't compete. And this will not be the top match of the night. I can just say that right now. I just don't know.
No, it won't be. No.
So it's gonna end up with Lana going through a table.
So the reason why
I'm not mad at that though.
Yeah, me neither.
I find her useless.
Yeah, she's actually one of those people.
But I find her useless. So sorry.
She's a great manager. She can talk people into the building. Her unfortunate inabilities in the ring. Again, she's 1,000 times better of a wrestler than I ever will be.
Sure.
So remember, with the matter of perspective, she can talk them in. She just can't keep them in with her abilities in the ring. I think
she's not bad.
But she's not
good either.
Correct. Right. But she would have been the best in the Bella era. You know what I mean? Like she's good enough and she can talk and but we're in a situation in the WWE where every woman on that roster for the most part can work and can work well.
If it was her versus Candice Michelle, would have been a clinic.
Yeah. I'd probably need to go to a methadone clinic after that. Now, the reason why I wanted Bianca Belair to run Roughhouse through this is because of this next match. We have Asuka versus the Blueprint, the Standard, the role model, whatever you want to call her, but she is the boss, Sasha Banks. She is my favorite superstar since Shawn Michaels retired. I got to tell you, I've been all in on her since NXT. I think Vince has dropped the ball 1,000 times over on her. Now that she's finally won the championship and wait for it, she retained it.
I was about to say and defended it.
I think we're in a position where she should beat Asuka handily. I don't think she's going to do that. I think this is going to be one of those finishes where we don't know it's going to be like one of those DQs. But my dream match now is Sasha versus the EST. I think Bianca and Sasha would just absolutely tear it down. So I want them to put Sasha over clean. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be a kind of like a one of those little schmaz matches.
I have a feeling this will be a Bayley shenanigans match. I don't think that feud is quite done over with yet. And, they have the rematch, but I just don't think that feud is particularly over. And you'll see, Bayley coming in and doing another thing. That rivalry will probably go on until Royal Rumble. And it should be Sasha Banks going over in this match, but I think that WWE is still rewarding Asuka for all that putting over she did during the first stages of the new era, I guess, of WWE when they had to go down to the Performance Center.
Right. I mean, which is understandable. I still think Sasha goes over, but I got to defend Asuka a little bit here. Like that that run in NXT was unreal. Like she was cleaning house every night and selling out, whether it was TakeOver, the weekly shows on Wednesday nights. Like she was running through everybody. And to me, it was so awful that, she ends up winning the Royal Rumble 2018 and then basically is put in a squash match at WrestleMania 34 against Charlotte. And I'm just like, what was the point of having that undefeated streak and you're building, and I get it. You're not able to understand her all the time when she's talking on a promo, but that you could have used that to your advantage. You could have had her talk trash to the fans and become that heel, and like I say, how many times have you heard on her promos when she's out there, Oscar's gonna kill you?
Yeah.
Like they do that all the freaking time. So guess what? She had the fans. Y'all put her against Charlotte because you just had to have a Flair. Do it with Flair. You just had to have that freaking happen. And then now, like I said, now she's being relegated to a jobber, so to speak. And I mean that's probably a little harsh, but that's just how I feel because I'm pissed off. Like
she's an afterthought, and she shouldn't be because she quite frankly is the most believable female athlete that they have, right? Mm-hmm. Because if she walked into a fight with with Shayna Baszler, listen, I think Asuka could hold her own in a legit one. In the WWE one, that should be a knockdown, drag out fight. So I think you're right, Ray. Asuka is discredited weekly by the way that she's booked because she should be a killer. She should be Goldberg of the female division.
Right. Or she was, and then
that's what they tried to do with Shayna Baszler. That blew up quick.
Yeah, but Asuka doesn't need to fight anybody. Moving on, the next match with the New Day, yes, it is, versus the Street Profits. I think this is going to be, for me, what they need to do. New Day, there's nothing that the New Day can do that will elevate them further, and subsequently, there's nothing that they can do that will ever lower them, right? So they need the smoke this time, and the Street Profits need to go over clean. I think that's what should happen, but I think that the New Day are going to go over, and because they need to push that merchandise still.
I think they're going to do the right thing on this one. I think that I think as far as merchandising go, the Street Profits can easily just as well selling all those cup necklaces or just or have WWE have people buy WWE branded red cups for like $20 and make an extra $1 million off of that. This should be New Day putting over the Street Profits. It absolutely should. Nothing. New Day is untouchable.
Yep.
At this point, they're always. It doesn't matter.
Dude,
what you
this is an old reference, but they're the Road Warriors, right?
Yeah.
They will be.
They're the Freebirds.
Yeah, they will be the greatest by the time that it's all said and done. They will be the greatest tag team / faction that's probably ever been constructed. Now, I say tag team. I don't mean faction because no one's ever going to touch the Freebirds, the Four Horsemen, the NWO, Generation X, or the Shield, right? Even Evolution. But as far as tag team wrestling goes, there's just been no better, especially given that they were handed a pile of shit. I promise you, they were not expected to succeed, and 6 or 7 years later, here they are.
I mean, yeah, they've turned in phenomenal. I mean, obviously, this is his solo run, but that last year run, where it's like, give Kofi a chance, and to me, just even catapulted the New Day as a tag team even more, even though it was a solo run for Kofi. We talk about sometimes, we've heard about racial divide. There was no racial divide that night that Kofi won. Like this big white guy hugged the hell out of me like we had just won the lottery when Kofi Kingston won the championship. And I was like, okay, you're a little drunk, but I'm gonna let this slide, but I'm just as happy as you are, so we're not gonna go crazy.
I was at a watch party in Vegas with my buddy at the time, and like when that happened, the whole place went, like you just said, we all, I think I spilled a beer because I jumped up and hugged everyone inside.
Yeah, it was crazy. Like it's one of my favorite. Actually, it definitely top 3 favorite WrestleMania moments for me. And I've seen a whole lot of shows, but it was up there. But to speak to the match on Sunday night, I think that, like you said, the smoke needs to be up. It needs to be filled, and then they need to clear out the New Day. Love the New Day. Like I said, love what they've done. They're going to continue to do great things as long as, Woods and Kingston are a tag team. We'd love to have you on the show. But I just think that just throw that in there, cheap heat. I think, New Day is probably going to win, but the Street Profits should be the one that get put over.
And here we have on the last match we're going to talk about, we have probably the 2 most useless titles that are in WWE right now, and they shouldn't be because they are 2 of the most impactful championships in terms of elevating mid-card talent to the main event. We have the United States champion Bobby Lashley versus Sami Zayn, the true Intercontinental champion. I think the last year or so, of Sami Zayn has been the best. He is such a believable dickhead. Like this sleazy heel that can wrestle but doesn't. He cheats to win. It works great for him. What I think they should do, I think they should let them tear the house down because Bobby Lashley can work. Sure. Sami Zayn can work. I would have Sami Zayn go over clean because I just think they've never pushed Lashley. I don't know why. They should have. He should have been more than an ECW champion. He should have been a WWE champion way back in 2008. But right now, I think, if we're talking about ratings, I think Sami Zayn is more likely to get people to tune in to see him get his ass kicked than Bobby Lashley is to get people to tune in to see them kick somebody's ass, if that makes sense. I think Sami Zayn should win a great match. What I think is going to happen, I think it's going to be Lashley goes over in less than 5 minutes.
Is there a possible way that Sami Zayn could win this match clean without shenanigans going on? I just don't see how it's possible.
He should. I mean, he hits like 3 Helova kicks. Yeah, I think he could, but they would never do that because if you want to suspend reality and suspend belief for a second, what you could do is you could use this because Lashley's kind of a heel, right? So what you could do, you could use this as the time where he did everything he could and he could not put Sami Zayn down. This could be the start, or should be the start of a great push for Sami Zayn as a babyface, but they're not going to do that. I guarantee it. Again, to rip off Rayshawn, who ripped off Paul Heyman, this is not a prediction. This is a spoiler. This will be a squash match.
They have been pushing this match as, Sami Zayn somehow outsmarting Bobby Lashley into a victory, and you're pulling me into your atmosphere here, where I just think, I don't know, 5-minute match maybe. It'll be Bobby Lashley going over.
I had a hard time putting down notes for this match because I'm not gonna lie, I didn't care too much for this match. As we just stated a few moments ago, but I feel like just for the sake of the conversation, I feel like Lashley, to me, is actually, I feel the other way around. Lashley should be put over. I love this Hurt Business faction. Love it. Cedric Alexander, I felt got buried in 205 Live, but Cedric Alexander, my guy Shelton Benjamin, ain't no stopping me. People forget. I mean, he probably had a top 5 Raw match of all time. Even though he got sent out the freaking ring. That oh my god, insane.
I was there.
Yeah, and insane. So it was crazy. We forget how great of an athlete Shelton Benjamin was and is. And then, MVP. Shout out to MVP for reinventing yourself. Those battles he had with Matt Hardy in the late 2000s and it's so funny for the U.S. title,
right?
That was a really great rivalry, and then they become the tag team champions, and you see him holding the titles and doing the swish motion, but and you're right, Lashley should have been more than the ECW champion, obviously, because it did the same thing with Matt Hardy. Like certain guys just don't get the push they should get, but once again, another podcast. Lashley should win. They should put him over. And, who knows? Maybe this continues to propel the Hurt Business because I feel like they are a really good faction. And hopefully my guy Ricochet can join them soon too. Because I really love what Ricochet is doing too. And I feel like he kind of got the raw end of the deal too after beating Samoa Joe at Extreme Rules about a year ago. So that needs to change.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. Listen, I think in this match you have the opportunity to either catapult or establish 2 really, 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 really great workers and good characters. I just don't think that I do not think that they're going to take the time to do either.
If I had to put money on it, I'd say Retribution gets involved in this.
Which Perfect. I love that idea too. I love Ali, love what they're doing with that. Because I feel like he kind of Kofi took his quote-unquote spotlight in a way last year at the Elimination Chamber. So, at the Elimination Chamber last year. So I feel like now, okay, they're like, all right, you paid your dues, so to speak. You're healed, you're good from injury. All right, let's see what you do with this. And I think they're having a really good start to this. So they got to build
after a really bad debut.
Right,
but when Retribution first came out, that was bad.
It's bad.
Right, but they also, you got to build them like they built Nexus. You have to.
Yeah,
It
there'll
should be like how
never
the
be
Nexus.
another Nexus.
You got to try. Can't say that you got to try. Like for the ratings, for the like that idea, how they built them was phenomenal. It was a terrible ending, but you have to do something like that. Maybe that's how they get it right. You didn't get it right with Nexus. How you ended that storyline. Maybe you get the storyline right where you continue to put them over and they become what the Nexus couldn't be at times.
Yeah, it's a tale as old as time in wrestling, though. Factions that start well almost never end well.
Well, then great, because this faction started off terribly. So
Yeah,
hopefully,
sure did.
Yeah, right, exactly, right.
hopefully they end terribly. And so in keeping with the Survivor Series theme, we know the three of us been thinking about this for a while. We wanted to put down our top Survivor Series moments or matches. Okay, let's just get this out of the way first. The most infamous moment in Survivor Series history happened during a match. It was the screw job that happened in 1997 in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, when Bret Hart, who was leaving for WCW the next day, refused to drop the title on a pay-per-view in his home country of Canada. He didn't want to lose to Shawn Michaels. Shawn, who is my favorite wrestler of all time, was a notorious asshole at this point in time, right? We all understand. So the famous line that was uttered by Triple H in the meeting before is, if Bret's not going to do business, fuck him. Let's do business for him. And that's what happened. Earl Hebner was right before he came out to the ring. He was, accosted by Vince and said, this is what's going to happen. Shawn's going to put Bret in the sharpshooter, ring the bell. Right. I remember I was watched that with my dad. I was 9 years old. I could not believe what happened. I mean, first of all, I was like, no way did he actually tap out. Right. I'm 9. So I thought this was, still pretty real, whatever. I knew that they weren't actually hurting each other, but this kind of defied everything. And then when you see Bret spit on Vince, when you see Shawn acting like he was so pissed off when he was leaving the ring, I'm like, you will never see a moment like that again. So I don't know if that's going to be number one on everybody's list, but that's the most infamous.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously the most memorable because of what happened for the business after that. And that's not my most memorable Survivor Series moment, but obviously it's probably the most important one, if you will, because, obviously the Mr. McMahon character is built from that. And, Shawn Michaels continued to get more heat, than more than one can handle probably at that time. But I didn't think I think of the same lines that Scott Hall did when he had the interview about this. Like, I thought it was a work on both sides. Like now looking at it now, like as a kid, no, like I was just like, man, like, spit on another guy's face like that's, my brother told me like, yo, that's the ultimate sign of disrespect. Like, you don't ever do something like that. Bret Hart was his guy. He was a Bret Hart guy, so it was just like, wow, Ultimate Warrior too. So, it was like, wow, like, okay, like this is what's going on, so to speak. But man, I thought it was a complete work. Like, there's no way. How do you let him get you in your finish? And how do you let them put you in that predicament? How do you do that, Brett? Like, you can have all the documentaries you want. So Wrestling with Shadows, which is a phenomenal documentary, don't get me wrong. Whether you want to do Beyond the Ring, whatever you want to put out there, how do you let them put you in a predicament where they can even screw you like that? So to me, I felt like Vince said something to him, or Earl had said something to him, or maybe someone else that knew about it on the side too, whether it's Patterson, Briscoe, aka the Yes Men, said what they said. It was like, hey, like, we're looking to do this. Like, can you make it real? But at the same time, that that animosity, I don't know if you can, like, that came from a deep, dark place. Like, that was 21 years of like, wait a minute, like, I came down here from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I left the Heart Dungeon. I gave you 14 years in this business. I became the world champion 3 or 4 times over. I became the tag team champion with the Heart Foundation. I did numbers in the UK. I had one of the best matches at Wembley Stadium back in '92 with the British Bulldog when I put him over for the Intercontinental Championship. And this is how you do me. This is how you do me, Vince. Man, F you type thing like that. That's So that's what all that came out of. Made for great TV, great content. Can't have never have much of that, right, Craig? But yeah, so it's just like, wow. But no, that's not the most memorable moment for me. But it is the most important one.
So, for the next moment that we have here, it's not as equally as seismic, but I do think that it helped establish WWE moving forward in a time where they were struggling to build new stars, and it was Ryback versus CM Punk. I think there was somebody else in that match too, but it doesn't even matter. The Shield debuts in 2012, and they absolutely just came out of nowhere, and they set that industry on fire. I remember them putting Ryback to the table. The lights go. You don't even know who these guys are.
Mm-hmm.
You've never seen anything like that before, right? And I think that moment, just based on what they all went on to be world champions in the WWE. And Seth Rollins, it might be the best wrestler, with AJ Styles in the mix, obviously right now, but of the last 10 years.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean it was amazing to see that moment happen. I was a meathead. I liked Ryback. Feed me more, baby. That's my slogan. Feed me more, whether it's chicken, French fries, whatever. Feed me more. So that was my that was my guy. But no, like you said, they came in. They took the wrestling world by storm. And I think Michael Cole kind of talked about them being from like Florida Valley. I don't know. It might have been called NXT by then, but talking about that's the Shield. Like, who were they type thing? And then, like you said, next thing you know, they go on a 2-year run. Like I said, their first big match is at WrestleMania 29.
No. I'm going to stop you there. Their first big match was the next month at TLC was a Team Hell No and Ryback in a TLC match, and I couldn't believe it. I mean, that was one of the best matches. So if you have the network, if you have YouTube, whatever, go back and watch that match because it was electrifying.
Right. So sorry, that the one I remembered I forgot about the TLC match clearly. But yeah, that I remember the WrestleMania thing because they're coming down MetLife and it's like Delta, Echo, and the Shield. Dun, 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 like, which is, I mean, and listen, don't change Roman Reigns music. Like I love when he comes out to that. I love that they came out to it. I thought it was great. And this is a bit of a hot take. If we can have hot takes on a show that's going to be conversational, but the only one out of the three that I didn't think should have been world champion really is Dean Ambrose. And maybe because it was lackluster, and Stone Cold said that, so he backed me up. So I feel pretty confident in saying that. His run just wasn't memorable. Roman Reigns has had good runs. Seth Rollins has had great runs. I mean, my God, WrestleMania 31, he's the Money in the Bank. He runs down, you hear the music queued up in Levi Stadium. He runs down to which, I mean, thank God he didn't have a Titus O'Neil moment and fall. That would have been crazy. Because that ramp was long as hell. Shout out to the primetime players though. But man, like that moment was crazy. So it's like I don't have any memorable moments like that with Dean Ambrose. Like I felt like he was the one that kind of got squashed a little bit out the three.
Yeah, no, he did. Here's what I'll tell you, just to kind of battle your hot take here. He should have been the first world champion out of those three. He was the talker. He was if you remember all those promos when they had their own handheld camera, he was the guy, and they just didn't know how to manage him. Craig, you were going to say something?
Wrestling needed the Shield at that time because at this particular time in wrestling, it was very, very, very stale. It was just CM Punk versus Ryback every week, John Cena versus Ryback every week. It was just, Bad News Barrett versus the same guy every single week. There was nothing new. It was the same matches every pay-per-view. They needed some kind of chaos, and the Shield was that. And, having Dean Ambrose face the Undertaker on a SmackDown almost immediately after they debuted, and then putting the Undertaker through a table, putting him out.
That was on that was on the European tour after 29, and that just absolutely cemented them. So that's a huge moment that, again, you got to credit them when credit is due. That's an organic moment that they created off of stars that they created, right? I think the next one, we can't get through this top moments or matches without talking about obviously the debut of the Dead Man in 1990 when he walked out with Brother Love. He was introduced by Ted DiBiase. I mean, I remember Roddy Piper going back and listening to it on commentary, just absolutely selling the hell out of it, right? You've never seen anything like this guy. But the most important moment happened the next year when he beat Hulk Hogan, who was still 1991. This is 1 year removed from the Hulk Hogan Ultimate Warrior match. Yeah, and in Skydome. Like, this was still peak or close to peak Hogan in WWE. WWF at the time, shout out to the World Wildlife Fund. And now you have this guy who's still pretty green, right, in terms of WWF, WWE standards, and he beat Hogan handily. They tried to set up a Flair versus Hogan match there that would ultimately never happen, but I wasn't. I was 3, so I'm not going to pretend that I was there or that I remember it. Going back now, though, and watching it, that's something that you just don't see happen very often.
It definitely was a passing of the torch, even very early in his career. Obviously, from being me, Mark Calloway in WCW and, doing stuff with,
Mark Colossus.
Yeah, me, Mark Colossus, and, doing stuff with then Theodore Long, not Taylor, but, so.
And Paul Heyman.
Yeah, and that's right. Yeah, Paul E. Dangerously. That's right. My bad. So, you figure how long he's been in the business. It's crazy. But, I think, definitely was a passing of the torch. And, it really set up what became the greatest streak in all of sports entertainment. Because obviously, he gets his first win at WrestleMania 8, and it just goes on and on and on and on, all the way to 2014. So, it was phenomenal to to see. Go back and watch it. I was you were 3, I was 1.
Yeah.
So my brother probably watched it. He probably watched it because he's older than me. He probably watched it at the time. But definitely was a passing of the torch, and Hogan put over what became, like I said, the biggest star in my opinion. So I know Craig thought otherwise, but those are the 2 guys. Obviously, when you think about Vince, like who he created as a character, there's no 2 bigger stars than those 2. Outside of Austin, maybe.
To another debut that happened 6 years after Undertaker's. Again, we didn't know what we had here. We see this young, full of piss and vinegar, kind of weird looking Rocky Maivia in this Survivor Series match. That's obviously Survivor Series 1996, which was a loaded card. You had Austin versus Brett. You had Psycho Sid versus Shawn. That was the day that the boyhood dream came to an end. But this debut in particular, he is the most famous star probably ever, like right now in the world. He is the only star that I can tell you, and that's The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, that actually outgrew the wrestling business, right? Hulk Hogan is a huge star. He's nothing without wrestling, right? Sure. Dwayne The Rock Johnson is his own thing. He just makes millions upon millions on movies now. And to look back in this match and see when he debuted, and just kind of, he was just so green. And it was shortly after this that the crowd was chanting, "Die, Rocky, die." And they brought him into the nation, which then just propelled him to the corporation, the people's champion. And, Ray, I don't know about you, but I definitely could not smell what The Rock was cooking this day.
I'm laughing because I remember that promo when he first joined the Nation Domination. Because the way The Rock talks, it just when he's cutting a promo, it just makes you laugh.
Yeah.
Even when he's talking about something serious. I was like, I remember when I first debuted and everyone chanted, "Die, Rocky, die," the way The Rock does. It was just, I think eventually John Cena is going to eventually challenge him for his box office, box office wallet. But as far as you're going with that, I couldn't agree with you more. No one in wrestling has said that they've had a more impactful career out of the ring than The Rock has. Maybe Stone Cold, not to that extent. But it's The Rock and then everybody else.
Yep.
Yeah, no, but like you said, Craig, like to me, Cena is the only guy. Like I said, Triple H made some terrible movies. As much as I love The Miz made some terrible movies too. Like, Shawn Michaels, didn't make any good teaching movies either. Like, so it's The Rock and Cena, and then it really is everybody else. Even though I love the Expendables, but that just wasn't. That wasn't on the same level as what The Rock has done. But no, I couldn't smell what he was cooking either. Like, it probably was still boiling in 96, obviously. And I just feel like, him joining the Nation really was the best thing that could have happened for him. Joining a professional like Ron Simmons, who was the first ever, African-American champion, in WCW history. So I felt like when that, putting him with him and then, giving spotlight to young Mark Henry as well.
The Godfather.
The Godfather.
D'Lo Brown.
Well, I mean, the Godfather had already had a little bit of a run there.
Papa Shango.
Papa Shango and Kama, was it Kama? Oh no, Kama. No, Kama was his character with oh god.
Oh yeah.
Kama.
He had a huge feud of the Undertaker.
Right, exactly. So I do remember that a little bit, but I and then obviously D'Lo Brown, obviously. So they and it wasn't Ken Shamrock a part of that too at some point?
Owen Hart. I thought Owen Hart.
Owen Hart. Okay. I knew. Yeah. So it was like, that was. Man, what a guy!
When he became the Black Heart.
Right.
Yep. So kind of trying to go in chronological order. The next big event that happens in Survivor Series that we can talk about, because is the invasion angle comes to a close at Survivor Series 2001. Just for you guys out there, 2000, March, I think it was March 23rd, 2001. WWF bought WCW. They bought their competition. The Monday Night Wars were officially over, and then they did probably what was the most sought after storyline in the history of wrestling, an invasion angle. Right? They had WCW stars, ECW stars come in and really challenge what was happening on WWF. The problem here was Hogan, Hall, Nash, Sting, Goldberg, all of the big stars from WCW all had guaranteed contracts from Time Warner. So they just all sat at home. They didn't come through. So what we got was a very washed down version of WCW that came in and really never really posed a threat at all to the WWF, right? I think we can all look back at that. The best moment of the entire invasion angle, they squashed it instantly, was when DDP was revealed as the stalker for Sarah, the Undertaker's wife. The whole place went nuts, and then all of a sudden she beats him on Raw.
Yeah, but that to me wasn't the best. I mean, that's one of the more memorable moments. No, why I can't speak tonight, but yeah, one of the most moments I remember. But I mean, it's got to be the Booker T Stone Cold. Yeah. Vignette
in the supermarket.
In the supermarket, like, I think about you and me, Mike. Like, I feel like we would have that type of moment when, got milk, Ray, and then you would smack me with a with a milk carton. So
price check like, on Jackass.
Exactly. Exactly. So I just felt like that's easily my favorite moment. I remember Kurt Angle winning in his hometown, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, beating Booker T for the World Heavyweight Championship.
You beat Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah, beat Stone Cold. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that was awesome. But with the invasion angle, one, I feel like it went too short, but like you said, it had to be because of, even on WWE side, like, Triple H was out during that time, which, I mean, that led to the greatest comeback ever on Monday Night Raw. That was phenomenal what he did. It was great. Shout out to you too, because that was the promo music. That's made an appearance on an earlier show. That could be in the show notes. Right. But it was, like I said, it was watered down for that exact reason. I remember the Paul Heyman promo on
SmackDown.
Yeah, that was phenomenal. It's like, there's nobody that's been better on the mic in or out the ring than Paul Heyman. It's not even close in my opinion. But I mean, far as the invasion angles go, I feel like the star that it helped the most probably was Booker T.
And Jericho, right? I mean,
but Jericho would have been Jericho anyways, because I mean, his first night he comes out, they have him doing a promo with The Rock, like so that let me know when Vince started him immediately. Like, look, you've been hiding in WC as Lionheart, and you're on Thursday Night Thunder and Monday Night Nitro. Like, yeah, you've had some memorable moments. Like, yeah, you were the TV champion, and so what? That's great. But he has him come out, welcome to Raw as Jericho, and it just explodes. Like, that was phenomenal.
You watch those old WCW promos of Chris Jericho though. Some of the best promos I've ever seen.
Oh, the Dean Malenko one. Yeah, the Dean Malenko one. The
Dean Malenko promo, yeah.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. Yeah. So
Man of 1,000 Holds, number 437, arm bar.
I mean,
So that's true. But I think I should have said on both sides, but for the WCW side, I think by far was Booker T. I think people saw his personality. They were the original Golden Truth.
Yep.
So that was, we saw his comedic side. We saw his, ability really just to entertain. And, he held his own, even though Triple H tried to squash him. But that's, once again, another podcast.
And don't forget King Booker.
Yeah. Right, which love that gimmick, by the way. So that was great.
But that's the only chance that he ever got to be a World Heavyweight Champion in WWE, which is
right. That's what I'm saying. WrestleMania 19, should have been. He should have been the World Champion. Triple H should have sucked it up and put him over.
The invasion angle was one of the most sought after and most poorly executed angles. I don't really blame them for doing it, because they needed to capitalize on it. What now in retrospect, what I think they should have done, I think we can all agree, if they just waited a year and teased WCW longer, because in February of 2002, you have the NWO. In July of 2000, in August of 2002, you have Shawn Michaels. He is WWE, right? So now you have him and Triple H that they can go against. They could go against the old boys in the Clique. It would have been a story that wrote itself. Which brings me to Survivor Series 2002. We see the first ever Elimination Chamber match. And that was absolute carnage. That was Shawn Michaels' second match back after a 4-year hiatus. If you guys have never watched his first match back against Triple H at SummerSlam 2002, it's probably one of the greatest matches ever for a guy that could not do it and had not done it in 4 years. He went out there and just tore it down. And Survivor Series 2002, when he comes off the top of the chamber and lands on Triple H for the elbow, sweet chin music. I just thought that was Jim Ross saying do you believe in miracles? All of that he's my guy. And to see him come back after 4 years and look that good in the first ever type of match like that, I thought it was that's one of the top moments for me.
Yeah, for me, so that's my number one moment. Sorry, I know Marcangelo new job, that's cool. This is my number one moment. Eric Bischoff introduces this new Elimination Chamber. You also have my guy, Rob Van Dam, who is to me the best mid-card guy of all time. I'm not debating. Argue with your mother, don't argue with me. That was just he was phenomenal. Intercontinental champion a few times over. He was just great. He entertained me every night.
He had the worst 5-star frog splash he ever did in that match.
Oh yeah.
Right. Yeah. He did.
He actually crushed Triple H's trachea.
Yep.
Yeah. Well. Oh well. But no. That match was awesome, man. To see him come back and triumph like that. I was just man, this is. I'm not sure we'll have another moment like that. As Survivor Series, like you said, to be off that, and I mean, man, the story that him and Hunter told, really for about 2 years, man. It culminated at WrestleMania 20 in that triple threat match against
Chris Benoit.
Yeah, there you go. I'm acting like Vince. So I don't want to bring him up. So that was a phenomenal match. But yeah, they put on a hell of a show, man, and. Like I said, I don't know if there's anything else that would top that. Even though I love the 5-on-5 match the next year in 2003 when my guy John Cena was white hot by then. But man, that first Elimination Chamber match, I don't know. There's nothing that's topped it for me at Survivor Series since.
Yeah, an honorable mention is the 5-on-5 from the following year. It was mine is Team Austin versus Team Bischoff, where Shawn again is down to the last guy. It was Shawn versus 3 people, and then Batista comes out of the crowd out of nowhere, power bombs him, and Austin has to retire, and he's no longer the co-GM. Moving on, Sting.
Yes,
2014.
Hell yeah.
I remember, this match, I was I don't even Dolph Ziggler, he's having a hell of a night, dude, but there's something just needs to happen. And then when you hear that crow and you just see him finally walk out, I was I don't care how old he is. This is the fucking coolest thing I've ever seen.
That, unfortunately, they had kind of ruined this because they had announced earlier in the summer that Sting had kind of signed a contract because he did things with toys and stuff. But to finally... It doesn't matter. You could have told me. You could have told me straight to my face that Sting was going to debut that night, and I would be like, no, he's not.
Right.
No, he's not. Because I had been waiting since 1999 when WWE bought WCW, and Sting had to sit out because of what happened with Time Warner. And I was like, okay, when that's over, he'll come to WWE. He goes to TNA for 6-7 years. Has a great career there.
Had a great run.
Had a great
Yeah.
run at TNA.
And then Victory Road.
And then Victory Road, and then the thing with Jeff Hardy happens.
Right, exactly.
And, Sting's there for still a while. And then eventually, like everyone else in TNA, they leave. And then for a while, it was just kind of limbo. We figure, Sting's in his early to mid 50s at this point.
Yeah, but I just remember that the crow hits, the music hits, and then
exactly.
Hunter,
and then it fucking happens.
Hunter did what he can do better than anybody else is he can tell a complete story with no words, just his face. The look on his face when he saw him walking down to that ring was unbelievable. And for a guy that I was always a WWE guy, I was never a WCW guy. Sting deserved a run. He didn't get the run that he deserved because of what happened. We all know that. Yep. But that moment, no one can ever take that away from him.
Nope.
Right. And I mean, and even with that too, right? My only disappointment with that, because obviously, Triple H is one of my favorites of all time, but I hate that it was Bray Wyatt and Taker at jeez. at 31, at WrestleMania 31, as opposed to as opposed to Sting and Undertaker. I feel like Sting and Undertaker would have been the dream match. And, I really wish that have happened, but unfortunately it didn't. But, that's always a whatever match that we can always talk about.
I'm still not convinced that that's not going to happen.
Well, if it was,
when though? When would it happen?
At this point, I don't see it happening in a match. I see it happening as a cinematic match, like the Undertaker had with AJ Styles.
Yeah, that would be.
I'll be here for it.
That would be the only. I mean, Sting is 62 now with a broken neck. The Undertaker's on his last legs. If they can make a cinematic match happen, I'll buy it. I do not want them in the same ring together.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And then I think the last moment for Survivor Series before the show winds down is Survivor Series 2016. Brock Lesnar at this point had been on a run for 2 years after beating The Undertaker at WrestleMania. No one had touched him. No one could touch him. And then Goldberg comes back after 12 years. 12 years. He was given 4 weeks notice that they wanted him on this show. And he beat Brock in less than 4 minutes. And and I'm not a Goldberg guy. I marked out hard for that. I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
No, but before getting into the match, like the promo that they talk about, the warfare thing, and Michael Cole, who was super cheesy to me, but Goldberg, and you just hear the people in the background yelling, and then you hear the crowd Goldberg.
Yeah,
and because to me, he still to me has my favorite entrance ever. Like I love coming out the security room or the dressing room or whatever, and then you and then he comes out with that I forget what that's called, but with that pyro, and he kicks boxes his way through, and like to me that's just still the coolest thing ever in my opinion. And that promo was just awesome because it's like, well, maybe I have one more ass kicking in me. Maybe I have one more jackhammer in me. Maybe I have one more championship run in me. And man, did he ever. He came down, he smacked Brock Lesnar. He came back in Fastlane and a few months later, and he beat Kevin Owens 1, 2, 3, and the rest was history. But like that was awesome. Like I'm getting hyped because I was waiting for you to talk about this. Like I love Goldberg. And like I said, I like Brock Lesnar too, but it was just like there was just something about Goldberg, like 133-0. 170, like that's just always stuck in my brain, because I always watched it as a kid on Thursday Night Thunder or Monday Night Nitro. So, that was a great moment, and Goldberg's the only guy that could have came back and did that. Like you're not going to believe Matt Hardy or someone coming back and knocking him out in 5 minutes. Like that's just not, that wouldn't have been believable. So
here's the thing about that though, with Goldberg probably, if you do the ranking of the best actual wrestlers, people who could perform in the ring, technically wise, probably one of the worst wrestlers of all time.
Sure.
He had built a career in WCW and in WWE of just squashing people.
Yep.
Just destroying people. And then he takes 12 years off. He comes back, and then he faces Brock Lesnar in his first match. And then the talk was, there'll probably be a good match between these two. It'll go about 5-10 minutes. He squashes him.
That's right.
He destroys Brock Lesnar, not once, not twice, but 3 times.
Yeah.
He squashes him. And this is Brock Lesnar who squashed John Cena.
Yep. This was peak Brock Lesnar. So I think what this just goes to show you is that even when a card looks lackluster to go into, you really just never know what's going to happen. That's one of the reasons why I think the three of us love professional wrestling. We do know, obviously, it's just like any other show that you watch on television. It is scripted. But when they do suspend the belief for that 1 second or that one special appearance, it makes it all worthwhile. So, guys, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. This was Cheap Heat presented by the MTP Network. Enjoy Survivor Series, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Missing the Point. Missing the Point is a 1 hour weekly, 2 hour monthly podcast recapping the biggest stories in the world of sports with a New England flavor. The show notes and transcript of today's episode can be found in the description box below and on our website, mtpshow.com. If you're new to the show, please consider subscribing. It's the easiest way to see when we publish new episodes. We are on iTunes, Spotify, Google, and wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to rate us and leave a review of any of our shows. We always appreciate your feedback. Also, be sure to follow us on all of our social medias. All of our links will be in the show notes. And be sure to check out our brand new website, www.mtpshow.com. That's mtpshow.com. For Missing the Point, I'm Craig D'Alessandro. We'll talk to you next time.
Hi, I'm Sherilyn Fenn from Twin Peaks. What did you do on your last Saturday night?
Did you hear something?
Toilet paper.
There's none. Nada. The reserves have gone dry. People are hoarding it. I should have done that.
They're all out of hand sanitizer at my Target.
Mark, when did you last watch the news?
We are getting reports of forced quarantines in China, Japan, and now Italy.
You're cutting onions in half and putting them around your apartment.
Yes, exactly. It kills the COVID.
Excuse me?
Let's go. Let's go. Get in.
Vamos, rápido.
Have you ever driven one of these?
Never.
I'll drive, ladies.
I've got the keys.
Excuse me, I'm lost. I'm looking for my wife. I got turned around.
Join me, Eric Roberts, Jennifer Elise Cox, and Ed Asner for The Last Saturday Night, an Electrocast podcast. You'll love it. Electrocast. Electrocast.